the universe by the power of Grayskull.
Hello everybody, Mac here. Welcome back to the show. What we have today is something that I am very excited about. I'm sure you've seen him already on some other channels, but I got mine in a couple of weeks ago, and this is the first time I'm getting a chance to sit down and open him. And I just really want to take a look at this guy because this is a childhood dream come true. I was one of the few that, as a kid even, I unironically really liked the Masters of the Universe live-action movie with Dolph Lundgren, and no small part of that was because of Frank Langella's version of Skeletor. That it was Shakespearean, his portrayal of Skeletor. The lines he said, the way he delivered them, the way he interacted with the other evil warriors, especially Evil Lyn. It was just fantastic. And I was always upset as a kid that we never received this figure in the original line. And then when they finally did bring out this figure with Super 7's Classics line, Masters of the Universe Classics, I wasn't collecting toys at the time. I wasn't collecting action figures. I didn't know he came out. And then when I did find out that he was available, and I went and I checked him out on like eBay, third-party vendors, things like that, he's really expensive. So when Mattel brought this one out as a Masterverse figure, along with He-Man, which I also have, which we'll eventually take a look at, I was so excited. This and the movie version of He-Man was the only Masterverse figure that I actually put on pre-order other than She-Ra, and I'm just really excited that I finally have this version. Honestly, my favorite version of Skeletor. So we're going to take a look at this because we're also kind of in this, like, after Warduke and Grimsword, we're kind of in this, like, evil warrior fantasy mode right now. So let's take a look at this. He comes in a deluxe box, and I get why they put him in the deluxe box because he had deluxe pricing and he was labeled as like a deluxe figure. But he's also very sparse in here. There's not a whole lot filling out this box. We have the figure, we have the Havoc staff, we have his version of the Power Sword over here, which I can't wait to get a look at that. But then over here, it's kind of empty. We have the Cosmic Key, we have a few more hands, and I'm not bagging on what we get with him. It's more of a packaging presentation type thing that I feel like they could have put this in a standard Masterverse box, but they just wanted to like give it that deluxe treatment. Masters of the Universe, Skeletor right there on the bottom. We have the Masterverse logo up top. On the side, we have some really, really nice artwork of the Lord of Destruction with the starscape behind it, and I really like this, how the cape kind of disappears into the star scene on the back, which we will take a look at this again later whenever we look at the Masters of the Universe He-Man, because as I showed you in like an unboxing video, if we put He-Man up next to it, it makes one big picture. We have the cross cell down here, there's movie He-Man, Revelations Sorceress Evil Lyn, Frosta Roboto, New Eternia Stratos, and over here, the nefarious sorcerer finally conquers Eternia. He made the mighty sorceress his prisoner. The secrets of Castle Grayskull were his for the taking, but for one nuisance, He-Man. Though his foe evaded capture using the Cosmic Key, Skeletor hunts him down so he may absorb all the power of the cosmos and declare himself the master of the universe. Go ahead and pause if you want to read that. And then over here, just Skeletor, evil tyrant of Eternia. So without further ado, let's get this open because I am honestly really excited about taking a look at this. Let's open him up and let's take a look at Mattel Masterverse, Masters of the Universe, Skeletor. All right, here he is, the Lord of Destruction, Skeletor, out of his box. Putting the tape measure to him, we can see that he is pretty much exactly 7 inches tall to the top of his hood. So at the beginning of the video, when I said this is my favorite version of Skeletor, I wasn't exaggerating that. If I could have gotten this figure in the 5.5-inch line back in the 80s when I was a kid after I saw the movie, you better believe I would have snagged this and he would have been my default Skeletor. This would have been the one that sat in Snake Mountain. This would have been the one that led Trapjaw and Evil Lyn into battle. This would have been the one that was trying to break into Grayskull and squaring off against He-Man. I loved this version of Skeletor. And just look at him. Look at the robes. Look at the armor. Look at the detail. Look at all of this. This is all fantastic. But most important, let's look at the face sculpt real fast. That I know one of the reasons that they couldn't make figures back in the 80s was because Mattel didn't have the rights for the canon movie version of the figures, or of the characters, which I think was the big hang-up. And to get around that, Super 7 actually made a deal with the guy that designed the costumes, whose name I can't remember right now. But I also figure there was problems with the likeness rights, which when we take a look at He-Man, and I'm sure you've seen it already, the movie He-Man, that looks nothing like Dolph Lundgren. But I'm guessing with Frank Langella, it may not have been as big of an issue because he was buried under all of these prosthetics and makeup. And just look at the result. Look at how great this face sculpt is. This looks like it could have stepped right off of a movie poster or right out of the movie itself. This is a fantastic likeness of Skeletor from the movie, and truthfully, I couldn't be happier about it. The whole look of him, I feel, looks like just what I remember from the movie. Maybe not entirely. The robes aren't as heavy because I know, like, the robes came over the shoulder and he could close them in around him. Did that to great effect, especially at the end when he hid his version of his half of the power sword from He-Man and then did the surprise draw. So he doesn't have the big flowing robes. As a matter of fact, his cape back here is a very sheer, very light piece of material that it hangs very nice. It hangs very nice, but I just wish it was a little heavier. As you can see through it, and I don't know, I just feel like it's going to be fragile and it may start ripping and it may start fraying. And it's already wrinkled a little bit from being in the box. And maybe if I steam that, I'll be able to get the wrinkles out of it. But also on the back here, just look at the top of his cape, how this is hard goods, this is soft goods, this is molded plastic, and he even has like the long tail from the hood coming down, that it blends fairly well together. I just wish this was heavier, and I think if this was heavier, it would blend even better with what they have going on right here. I also love the detail work in the armor right here. Everything about this is fantastic. The texturing of it, all of these little skulls, in his accoutrements, even like those skulls down in here. Yeah, even like the skulls down in here. Everything is great. Underneath, just black leggings, but we have the silver boots, once again carrying that skull motif on the boots right there. The only bit of tech that he has are these bracers right here. You can see some wiring. You could see that there would be like maybe some lights right in here, display panel, mirrored on the other side. That's the only sci-fi thing that he has. Everything else is just like fantasy sorcerer. Really love even like the design on his belt right here. Really love that. Like, I'm not entirely sure what that's supposed to be, because you have the eyes, you have the mask, but then this looks like a beard and some hair up there. I don't know what that's supposed to be, but it looks cool. Now, looking at the articulation, like I said, a lot of this does interfere with the articulation, and you can imagine that it interferes with the head, that there is virtually no movement in the head. He can't look back. He can barely look down. He can get a little bit of twist side to side, but this piece is really interfering, and there's no tilt. So the head is basically static. And this is something, remember when I said that the box was fairly open on this side, that there was plenty of room over here. This is something else that they could have packed in. I don't know how easy it would be to remove the head with this long tassel, but if you remember, at the end of the movie, when he pops up out of the moat or whatever that is that he fell into, and he had that green sheen to his skull when he did the whole "I'll be back," they could have packed in another head sculpt, and I think that would have been cool if you could pop this one off and then put the traditional yellow-green skull on without the hood, and then maybe also gotten a little bit of head movement out of him. But truthfully, I think I would have just displayed it with this anyway. The armor is great. I can't get over how much I love this guy. Okay, so we saw the head sculpt. The arms, these shoulder pads are attached to the shoulder right here, not the torso, not the armor. So he can do a full 360. You have to go out a little bit when you come up to here because this is a hard piece of rubber. It's not going to get, or a hard piece of plastic. It's not going to give like rubber would. And then when you bring his arms up, there's a whole lot of traffic jam right here. There's a whole lot of collision that like his arms really don't come up any further. Do they? No, his arms don't really come up any further than that. He has a bicep swivel. He has double jointed elbows that you can get some decent travel out of, but the combination of the bicep and the gauntlet right here really interferes with that. Wrist swivel, wrists pivot in and out, and fortunately, this one pivots up and down. This is his sword-wielding hand, his weapon-wielding hand. So you could put the sword in that hand, the Havoc staff in this hand if you want to. And at least with this hand, he can get some of the proper posing with a sword out of it. Now, we come down to the torso right here. And this does have the standard Masterverse buck right underneath here. As a matter of fact, you can see that he rocks back a little bit. You can see that he rocks forward not a whole lot. There's a little bit of side-to-side going on, but there's a hang-up, too, that he can't do the full 360 twist at the ab cut like the other ones could. The belt does tend to get in the way for the waist, but the waist can at least do a full 360 turn. Just have to push that back down. Now we come down to the legs, and this isn't a hard plastic, but it's very stiff. It's very stiff. Okay, you can see how it's even folding right there whenever I try and lift it up. That the legs can come forward that much, as long as you get this out of the way. The legs can go back that much. If you lift this up, if you lift that up, you can get some decent out to the side with them. He has a thigh cut. He has a boot cut, and my boot cuts are very loose right here. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you noticed while I was moving them around, but they tended to move on their own sometimes. Ankles rock back very far. Ankles rock forward very far. And he has a forward-facing pin for some rocker. Almost forgot. He does have double-jointed knees that you can also get some really good travel out of them. Now, as you just saw out of the box, Skeletor comes with a pair of gripping hands, in and out, up and down. The only other hands that he comes with is a left open palm hand, which we've seen on Masterverse figures before, and a closed right fist. And while we're looking at these, I wanted to take a second and show you that if you pop the hands off, and you wanted to take off like these tech bracers to like just make him complete fantasy skeleton sorcerer, they are part of the mold. They don't come off, and so, which I found interesting because I know a lot of the Masterverse figures, the cuffs can come off, but this one is molded on there. And taking a look at his accessories, we're going to start with this, the Cosmic Key. And I love that they included this accessory with him. In the movie, this was basically the MacGuffin, the big device that moved the plot, the thing that everybody was chasing. Skeletor had one, Gildor had one. And I love that they gave Skeletor his. He guarded this thing with his life, basically. It was always on him. It never left him. He didn't let anybody touch it. He was obsessed with it, and I love that they included this as an accessory for him. And it doesn't look bad, to tell you the truth. It doesn't spin, it doesn't open up, but as a solid piece, it doesn't look bad. It has this sort of flexible lariat here, but there's nothing to hang it on, unfortunately. And that's kind of disappointing because he did have something that, like, he could hang it from his side. He always had it with him, but nothing for this figure. But I do like the look of it. I like the coloring of the buttons, and then the big red button right there, the purple up top, even the sculpt on it. Like, it's a little bit more detailed than I was even expecting it to be. I really like the look of this, and the keys down here, like I said, this just looks really good. Next up, we have his Havoc staff, and I know you're probably going to get tired of hearing this, but I really like this version of the Havoc staff. I love the design. I love the deco of it. It just really, for some reason, really said something to me when I was a kid that I really liked this look of it. I don't know why. And even the handle, the staff itself has some detail to it. Like, they could have just made like a straight piece of plastic and made that the handle, but I really like how they have these ridge spots on it, like someplace for him to grab onto. I love that they gave such attention to the Havoc staff. Like, he really used this in the movie. Like, Langella, like, really utilized the Havoc staff. It was definitely a presence there. He was always like tapping it on the ground, stamping it on the ground. I really liked the way that it was used. I really liked the way that it was looked, and I'm sorry, I really like the way that it looked, and I really like the way that it looks now. This is just great. This is just so great. I am so beside myself. I'm like a little kid right now. And then finally, that brings us to his sword. And even though they never actually officially said that it was his half of the power sword in the movie, as kids, even as adults right now, I think we can all basically agree that this is pretty much his half of the power sword. That is designed to look like the counterpart, the companion to He-Man's version of the power sword, which once again, we'll do a comparison once we open up the movie He-Man. But this is something else that, like, look at the skull motif coming through again. Like, I really like the design, the style of Eternia, the look of the Eternian weapons, the look of the Eternian armor. Even as a kid, like, now I get that they went to Earth because it was like this big money saving thing. But as a kid, I was so disappointed that they didn't spend more time on Eternia, not because it was He-Man and the Masters of the Universe and I wanted to see Eternia. Eternia just looked so cool. Like, I would have loved to have seen what some of the other characters would have looked like in this design. Like Trapjaw, like Zodak, like Roboto, Manny Faces. It would have just been really interesting to see more of what those characters looked like in the design of this movie. I thought the design was fantastic. My only gripe about this sword is that I wish it was more silver than gray. This is molded in just a very flat gray. I would have liked to have seen some silver paint on here, make it shine, make it really pop, just really finish it off. Mine is bent a little from being in the packaging, but we all know heat that up, we'll take care of it, no problems. But this, I love the look of this. This sword is just so cool. And now for size comparisons, here he is beside Mattel Masterverse 40th Anniversary He-Man and Mattel Masterverse New Eternia Skeletor, the only other Skeletor that I have in my collection. Here he is beside McFarlane Toys Witcher 3 Geralt of Rivia and Eridan Brioc Glass. Here we are with a couple of other offerings from McFarlane Toys. From the Mirrorverse we have Maleficent, and from the DC Multiverse we have Etrigan the Demon. From NECA Toys we have Ming the Merciless and Flash Gordon. Also from NECA Toys we have their D&D line Warduke and Grimsword. And I mean, come on, you knew these two were coming out. And now for a size comparison with the 1/12 scale figures, here he is with Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Cobra Trooper, because I really feel like that figure, especially with the goggles on, kind of looks like Skeletor's Assault Troopers from the movie. And on the other side, we have Hasbro Dungeons & Dragons Deluxe Drizzt Do'Urden, and these past few weeks have probably been the most play Drizzt has seen since I bought him. Alright, so I just want to try something real quick. I just want to pop this head off, and then we're going to bring this Skeletor up here, and... oh, that came off a lot easier than I thought. And that fits on, but man, does that look small. There is no neck there at all. for Skeletor. I mean, the purple is off, but aside from that, no. Just no. So I'm sure it's coming as a surprise to no one when I tell you how much I love this figure. Of course I am predestined to like this figure. This figure is a childhood treasure come to life. This is possibly one of the few items that I would say is a grail item for me, this version of Skeletor. And it's hard to say it's a grail item because it was something that never even came out. Like, if I would have had this when I was a kid, I would probably still have that figure today. That's how much I love this version of Skeletor. Is this figure perfect? No, but it is really close. I have to admit, it is really close. The things that aren't perfect about it is starting with that cape. It's very light, it hangs well, it looks good, the colors blend very well, but I wish it was either A, a heavier cloth, a heavier material, or B, just hard goods that came down the back. And if it was a heavier material, I would really like if it was big enough that it could fold over the figure's shoulders, kind of like NECA's Defenders of the Earth, Ming the Merciless, where he has that big shiny cape that he can just envelop himself with. Something like that for this figure would be awesome. And now that I say it out loud, I'm probably going to start looking online because I'm sure somebody out there has put together just what I'm looking for this figure and the cape. The articulation of this figure is very much hindered by the costuming, the accessories, the things that it's wearing. It's a little frustrating that there's not a whole lot going on in the torso, but where you really notice it is the head, that he's always pretty much going to be in that fixed forward look because of that hood piece. And I get it, that hood piece is fantastic. It kind of needs to be that way, but it is also a little frustrating not being able to move the head around. Also, there's no place to holster his weapons. That's one thing that does kind of irritate me a little bit. All of the Masterverse figures, well, for the most part anyway, a lot of the Masterverse figures have places where you can, like, sheathe their swords, hang their accessories, things like that. With Skeletor here, we don't even get a hook to hang the Cosmic Key off of, and that's a little frustrating. A hanger for the Cosmic Key, or even something that he could just, slide the sword into to hold the sword on his hip, that would have been nice. And beyond that, there's really not much I have to say in the way of complaints of this figure. I really like the coloring of it. I like the style of it. And yeah, all of this is coming from the movie, but in action figure form, it looks fantastic. I like the accessories that it comes with, especially the Havoc staff and his half of the power sword. A second head sculpt, like I said at the beginning of the video, would have been nice, but not having it, I don't feel that detracts from this figure at all. Opening this up, finally getting a movie version of Skeletor, finally getting the Masters of the Universe movie version of Skeletor, the Frank Langella Skeletor, the Skeletor that I love so much. This makes me very excited about the Masterverse line. Like, this is honestly, like, I've opened up a few Masterverse figures before, but this is the first Masterverse figure that I've opened so far that has me really excited about the figure, about the line. The New Eternia He-Man and the New Eternia Skeletor that I have, I like them. I think they have a cool look, and I really like that it's different, and I love that the 40th anniversary is basically the vintage figure I had all grown up, but none of them really made me as excited as this one is, and it really, really, really makes me hope that at some point down the line, they're going to find a way to start making more movie figures. We have He-Man, we have Skeletor, we need Evil Lyn, we need that version of Teela. Could you imagine Blade as a Masterverse figure? That would be awesome. That would be absolutely awesome. So I'm really hoping, really hoping that they're going to find a way to start making more figures from that movie. I will buy every one of them. That is what I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this look at Skeletor. I know I did, and I can't wait to get He-Man opened up Next month, we're going to be going in a little bit of a different direction. Next month is actually National Women's Month, so I'm going to use that as a reason to open up a bunch of female figures that we haven't taken a look at. We have Zarana, I have a figure named Ash that we're going to be taking a look at, and not least of all, and may even be the first one, we're going to open up She-Ra, and I'm going to answer a question that was posed to me years ago. Why is She-Ra so important to me? So until then, my friends, play well, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, thank you for watching.